Hi, I am Maryna, wife of the ambassador of Ukraine in Lebanon and curator of academic projects at Ivan Hrymych Ethnographic and Folk Arts Museum. I'm honored to present you today a short overview of Ukrainian culinary traditions in the context of culinary diplomacy. And let me please share my screen. Let's start our presentation. Ukrainian cuisine is a part of big European culinary heritage, so some of you will find many things in common with your own traditions. There are also strong connections between Slavic and Baltic cultures in terms of food culture. Ukrainian culinary traditions have been shared in big Ukrainian diaspora communities, first of all in Canada and Brazil. For example, in Canada, Ukrainian vareniki or pierogi are declared to be the important item of Western Canadian menu. Today, I am going to speak about Ukrainian culinary traditions as a co-author of the book Ukraine, Food and History, the project of Ukrainian Institute and Yizhak Kultura. The concept of culinary traditions includes such elements as inviting guests, developing the menu, table design, deciding on food presentation, seating arrangements, delegating table duties, dining etiquette. And today I will focus on some of them and add a few notes about Ukrainian impact to the culinary diplomacy. So we'll start with preparations. Like in other cultures, a festive Ukrainian dinner table is usually covered with a tablecloth, sometimes richly embroidered. Setting the table correctly, precisely, and symmetrically is vital. All available space should be utilized, and it is considered good taste to use matching tableware. Festive table linen, quality tableware, and flawlessly set table with rich and exquisite foods make a perfect design. Other table decorations like flowers and other frills were considered to take up valuable space, preventing easy access to dishes and free-flowing conversation. It was in old Ukrainian culture. But today we change our minds, especially for official events. It is always a good idea to use traditional and modern Ukrainian ceramics, sometimes yellow and blue bouquets of flowers representative of the Ukrainian flag brighten up the table. A typical Ukrainian menu, although it slightly differs between towns, regions, and cultural communities, contains the signature dishes which have shaped Ukrainian cuisine. Among them are borscht, голубці, вареники, pickles, jellied meat or aspic, pancakes, baked potatoes with roasted meat. Each community has a staple list of dishes which were typically defined by the region's economic activity. For example, a festive menu in Ukrainian fishing communities living by the river Dnipro could boast a larger share of fish compared to other communities which traditionally lived off the land. Nowadays, festive celebrations in Ukraine include 3 courses: the starter, the main dish, and dessert. However, till recently, rural communities followed a more old-fashioned sequence. Cold starters were served first. Pickled and salted vegetables, cold meat dishes like jellied meat, and cold fish. This course was followed by hot dishes like голубці. Then it was time to serve borscht or meat, stock, or soup, which was followed by roast chicken or duck. Then the guests were treated to stuffed foods like vareniki and filled pancakes. And we have big range of vareniki with salted soft cheese, with sweet soft cheese, with potatoes and wild mushrooms, with potatoes and bacon, with fruits, with berries, with meat, with cabbage. Cuisine. Cuisine was the final dish. Nowadays, this course has been replaced by coffee and tea, accompanied by sweets. And at the table, the sitting arrangements for the chief guests and hosts are determined by custom. The host and the hostess sit at the head of the table. The hostess, however, is usually away from her place at the table, as she is typically busy in the kitchen, cooking or supervising the hired help. The woman is usually called back for an important toast, only to be released again to go back to her duties. Traditionally, the guests of honor were seated. Guests of honor were seated in close proximity to the hosts and sometimes occupied their seats. By convention, children did not sit at the table together with adults. They would go away and play only to come back and patch themselves on parents' laps or the edge of a chair to grab something. Modern Ukrainian parents follow the approach, sitting children together with adults at the common table where they can take part in festivities. About the gifts. In ancient rural communities of Ukraine, it was traditional for a guest attending a celebration to bring as a gift food like eggs, cheese, honey, bread, and so on. Wedding guests would bring a live chicken, and for Easter celebrations, it was customary to bring a home-baked ritual bread called Pascha. In urban popular culture, which with time has also shaped rural tradition, it is customary to bring a bottle of alcohol or a dessert like a cake or a box of chocolates and a bouquet of flowers. Till recently, it was quite a tradition for guests to join in a sing-along. Following the first course, a suggestion to sing would usually come from the guests, or the song would spontaneously erupt and everyone would join it. In rural communities, local women with good singing voices were often invited to join in the festivities. Collective singing and listening to folk songs was a form of entertainment enjoyed in between eating and drinking. Culinary diplomacy. A modern Ukrainian diplomatic reception, first and foremost, aims to adhere to the high international standards of diplomacy, but at the same time to reflect national culture. This eclectic approach is used by the overwhelming majority of the world's diplomatic missions. Receptions usually offer a shadow menu, which gives to guests a selection of less exotic food, but at the same time allows them to sample national cuisine. For example, beetroot is strongly associated with Ukrainian cuisine. It tastes great, marinated with salad leaves, green salad leaves, with salted cheese, dressed with honey and mustard. And now let me present you Larry and Margaret Dickinson, a diplomatic couple from Canada. Unfortunately, Larry passed away a few years ago. They were used to be famous for their receptions, and they were true experts in culinary diplomacy and cooking. Margaret is of Ukrainian descent and grew up on a remote farm in the north of Canada, surrounded by Ukrainian cooking traditions. She earned a degree in nutrition, married a diplomat who served as ambassador on a number of diplomatic missions overseas. She went on to develop professional recipes and write award-winning, best-selling cookery books. As a true culinary professional, she was able to turn such seemingly unsuitable diplomatic dining products as buckwheat and sorrel into dinner table gems. One of her original recipes is a sorrel cappuccino soup, which can be served warm during official dinners and cold at cocktail receptions. She has also developed a number of buckwheat-based recipes, the most impressive being a side dish with dried blackcurrants and nuts. We tried to continue Ukrainian diplomatic culinary traditions, heritage. On this picture, His Excellency Igor Ostash, ambassador of Ukraine in Lebanon, and Lebanese culinary TV star Chef Antoine are cooking Ukrainian borscht. Welcome to the world of Ukrainian cuisine. Thank you who supported this presentation, United Nations Women's Guild in Vienna, Ukrainian Institute, Їжа Культура, Іван Гончар Museum, and Slate Go. Bye.